And I think that'll be the same for the other Gulf states. But all the bases will be hit. Now, the problem that faces Trump is, who does he listen to? Is he listening to what the Pentagon is saying, which is don't attack? Or is he listening to the hawks in the cabinet and his big donors, all of whom want Iran to be eradicated?
You know, the problem we have, I think, with if you like, the mainstream media here, is that they are the mouthpieces for MI6 in this case.
I think if there's no strike this time, it's only a postponement. And that a real strike will come 2027 or 2028. Let's see. Let's try to get to grips with what the negotiations are really are all about. Trump wants a deal on nuclear, and only on nuclear. And Iran has said the negotiations are only about the nuclear enrichment process. There is, I think, good grounds for saying that there could be an agreement on that. Trump walks away, victory, loud acclaim, good for the midterm elections. The problem is that not everybody in his camp would go along with that. And in particular, it is not what Bibi and Israel want, which is the complete dismantling of Iran's ballistic missile arsenal and the stopping of support for Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, etc. So the question is Trump strong enough within his own government to go for a negotiated settlement on uranium enrichment? That's the big question. If he's not, then I think there will be war, and that will probably be in the early days of March. And the consequences of that will be phenomenal, not only oil prices, but global economic activity, and regionally too, as I sit here in Dubai.
You had Professor Marandi, who was an Iranian professor over there in Tehran, and clearly has some connections on the inside. And he basically sent out a tweet yesterday saying to evacuate. It'd be wise to evacuate the Gulf states. How? I mean, you being in Dubai, Simon, how will the Gulf states be intertwined in all this?
Well, Iran has already said that if we are struck, not only do we hit Israel immediately, and the vessels in the Oman and Arabian seas, but we will hit all the American bases in the Gulf. I think that given the back channels and given the relationship historic between the UAE and Iran, that the strike will be a hypersonic missile on the American airbase south of Abu Dhabi. And that's it. There's too much Iranian money in Dubai. There's a long historic association, trade association. There's a very big Iranian school, and I believe 2 Iranian hospitals, and with a large Iranian population. And I think that'll be the same for the other Gulf states. But all the bases will be hit. Now, the problem that faces Trump is, who does he listen to? Is he listening to what the Pentagon is saying, which is don't attack? Or is he listening to the hawks in the cabinet and his big donors, all of whom want Iran to be eradicated?
The global stage is tense. The UK reportedly blocks US use of RAF bases for strikes on Iran, revealing fractures in allied coordination. Meanwhile, Iran warns that any attack could trigger retaliation against Israel. Military analysts suggest Israel may hesitate, given the limitations of its missile defense systems and Iran's recent acquisition of advanced hypersonic weapons. The Pentagon and U.S. policymakers recognize that any conflict would be logistically and financially overwhelming. With domestic pressures mounting, leaders are carefully weighing action versus diplomacy, understanding that a misstep could destabilize the Middle East and ripple through the global economy.
The problem we have, I think, with if you like, the mainstream media here, is that they are the mouthpieces for MI6 in this case. Usually MI5 as well, but MI5 is domestic intelligence. I mean, it's interesting. I think that's more interesting in the light of the problem that the British government has in terms of ceding the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. That, I think, is becoming, I think, a real issue again. Trump has flip-flopped on this a bit. So I think that's a slightly different story from the one we're talking about. I think what I'd like to add to what Simon was saying is that my understanding is that the Iranians have also said that they would attack Israel if America attacked them. Now, my understanding is that Israel actually doesn't want to get involved because their Iron Dome and all the rest of it has been proved to be not up to scratch. And not only that, but Iran has now been supplied, as again I understand it, with restocked with more modern missiles, hypersonic and all the rest of it, so that their, if you like, punch is far, far stronger now than it was, when Trump went in and tried to take out the nuclear processing side. So this, I think, is actually slightly more complicated than it first appears. It could be that what happens is that Trump takes the view that his donors and those which are Israeli, if you like, in origin, the Jewish faction, if you like, the Jewish pressure group, are probably not going to, if you like, I mean, they would like to see Iran gone, but they will realize that this is unrealistic because the consequences for Israel would actually be very, very damaging. So I think, and you see, the other thing is that, I mean, the Pentagon, I think, would be absolutely right in turning around to say, look, don't do this. I mean, it's not just the oil price question, but Iran is an enormous country. It's several times the size of Iraq or Syria or whatever. This is not something which you can sort of take on militarily without the thing being incredibly expensive and incredibly demanding in terms of military resources, which frankly the Americans have not got. I mean, basically their ammunition stocks are down because they've been supplying it to the Ukrainians. So, I just can't see how they can they can have a war on this. I mean, the only thing I'm sure that Trump will have explored is, well, is there something we can do quickly, like we did with Maduro in Venezuela? And that's the end of it. The answer is no. So Simon reckons 50-50. I reckon that it's unlikely that this will go ahead. But I think the point is that Trump does need an exit from this. And that's what the Iranians will be working to give him, because they realize that Trump's real problem is the midterm elections. And
I agree.
His popularity is sinking rapidly as it is in domestic America. He's got to do something to try and claw that back. So I think that's the way it would probably work. But whether some sort of agreement with Iran will be enough, if you like, for him to be able to realistically say, there you are, part of the deal, I've managed it again, and I'm the only person who can do these things. Well, we'll see.
Iran's alliances are strengthening. Recent reports indicate a tripartite pact with Russia and China, supplying advanced missile, radar, and satellite capabilities. Chinese naval intelligence is now monitoring American movements in the Gulf, while Russian missile technology enhances Iran's defense. Analysts argue that any direct U.S. strike risks confrontation with two global powers simultaneously. The timing of military decisions appears linked to U.S. domestic politics, particularly midterm elections. This strategic complexity has caused President Trump and his advisors to hesitate, balancing donor pressures, political optics, and the potentially catastrophic consequences of an ill-planned strike on a heavily armed Iran.
I think if there's no strike this time, it's only a postponement. And that a real strike will come 2027 or 2028.
I think the other thing, and I'd be interested in your view on this one, Simon, is China's role in this, because I just get the feeling that China is more on the front foot than it has been for a long time, or almost ever, if you like, since Mao Zedong died. I mean, they are now actually proactively attacking America financially, like telling their licensed institutions holding US treasuries, sell the damn things, get out, saying it's volatile and all that. Come on, there's been no volatility in the treasuries for the last 6 months. It hasn't been volatile. That's an excuse. I just think that when push comes to shove over Iran, I think you'll find that it's not just Iran you're fighting, but you're fighting Iran supported by China, and a lot more visibly than in the past.
What has recently been signed, only a few days ago, is a tripartite strategic alliance between Russia, China, and Iran, which basically says, if Iran is struck, we will be behind you. They have supplied, Russia has supplied their latest missile technology. China has supplied their latest radar satellite intelligence.
And has shipping, with intelligence shipping in the area too.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. They have this surveillance vessel which has this up-to-date radar systems, so they are able to track all the American submarines. And they've also got supporting vessels, 2 of their most up-to-date destroyers. So Trump hits Iran, he's hitting Russia and China at the same time, which leads me to my 50-50 call of an imminent strike. And if there is a strike, which is likely, it will be postponed for a year or 2.
It continues to fester if nothing is done. I think that's one of the problems that the Americans face. we'll see. But I think the midterm elections are really sort of setting the timing of all these things.
Absolutely.
Europe faces its own crises. Ongoing negotiations over Ukraine appear stagnant, with battlefield outcomes likely determining territorial control. Russia seeks strategic cities while keeping NATO and EU influence out of contested areas. Meanwhile, European countries struggle with domestic debt and bureaucratic inefficiency, funneling funds into Ukraine with limited oversight. Analysts warn reconstruction will favor Russian-aligned entities rather than Western companies, creating financial losses for U.S. investors. The continent's internal political pressures, combined with overextension in foreign conflicts, raise concerns about economic stability. Observers note that the war's trajectory is intertwined with broader geopolitical tensions, from sanctions to military alliances.
But on the other, so that's the other hotspot, of course, continues to be Ukraine. And I think that the negotiations that have been going on in Geneva and elsewhere are going to go nowhere. And that the Ukraine will be decided on the battlefield, not through diplomacy, and only when Russia has got what she wants, which will include Kharkov, Odessa, and even Kiev.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I mean, the ridiculous thing in this is the way the Europeans are behaving. I mean, it's just stupid beyond belief. I mean, we're seeing, I think, the most extreme example of political groupthink you could possibly imagine going on in Europe. It's just unreal.
But they've got so many and huge problems domestically, from debt, from the bureaucracy in Brussels that the electorates hate now, that they're looking for, as always, an external factor, which is war.
Yeah, well, it's just complete craziness. And the other thing, I mean, talking about debt, of course, they're up to their necks in loans and funds going into Ukraine, which are worthless, completely worthless, and nobody can afford to write it off. You know,
I mean, the other thing is there's a lot of chatter and hope in America that the war ends and that American companies and EU companies will gain massively from the reconstruction of the Ukraine. My take is Russia is not going to allow that. They're not going to allow American and European companies running around their own territory. The reconstruction will go to Russian and BRICS member partner companies.
And particularly China.
What that means is, I can't remember the figure, but there's a lot of money that the big US institutions have invested in Ukraine, either directly or indirectly by owning the mortgages on the land.
Financial markets are signaling stress. Overnight repo purchases by the Federal Reserve have surged, echoing patterns seen before the 2008 crash and COVID-19 crisis. Analysts suggest these spikes indicate strain in the banking system and a desperate push to stabilize Treasury yields. With massive refinancing needs and foreign investors hesitant, the Treasury faces pressure to manage interest rates while maintaining liquidity. Some experts warn that without intervention, systemic vulnerabilities could escalate. Coupled with rising debt and stock market dependency, the U.S. financial system teeters on a delicate balance, reliant on both policy maneuvers and emerging technologies to avert deeper crises.
Okay, it's an indication, if you like, of strains within the banking system as a whole. What we don't know is whether it's one banking system or several banks. Sorry, one bank or several banks involved. Bit difficult to really work it out. I mean, there was the spike in the rate some time ago, I think we're going back to September 2019, actually occurred when Deutsche Bank was selling its prime brokerage, I think, to BNP. And, I think quite a lot of the customers of the prime brokerage, if you like, moved funds away. So that had to be replenished somehow. And that, I think, was led to the spike in the rate. Then what happened was that the Fed came in and basically just, provided what was necessary in order to keep the repo rate within the Fed funds rate target. That's the whole thing. And I suspect that this current spike is probably to do with trying to keep the rate within, the Fed funds rate spread. So without the Fed doing that, you would see the repo rate rising very, very sharply. I think it's a bit too early to say there's a real problem, if you like, in the banking system, because, as I say, we don't know whether this is just one bank or whether it's, several. And I think also 20 billion nowadays doesn't buy nearly as much as it did, let us say, even 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. So, I think that's something we watch with interest rather than, let's say, extrapolate too much at this rate at this time.
Yeah, Simon, your take as well. 18.5 billion dumped overnight into the banking system. What do you make of that?
I think Alistair is absolutely right. I think the other comment that I would make is that the Treasury is desperate to get 10-year treasuries down from the current 4+% range, because they've got something like $10 trillion of refinancing to do. And whether you refinance at 4, 5 or 2 to 3 is a huge, huge difference. And at a time when your foreigners are not going to be coming in.
Indeed.
Good point.
It's a mess.
Yeah,
it's a huge mess.
You're right. I mean, the other thing you could say is that this wouldn't happen if rates were a little bit higher. Possibly.
Yeah.
Because, is this an indication that actually the idea that rates are going to fall further are premature? I think that's quite likely.
Yeah.
But as I say, I think this is something we just watch with interest at this stage. I mean, they're going to have to print hugely. I mean, they really are. And that's even without the stock market collapsing. When the stock market collapses, then my goodness, I mean, you'll see QE take off to unimaginable quantities. Because apart from anything else, stocks are collateral for the banking system. It's got to be supported.
Artificial intelligence offers opportunity and peril. Businesses are exploring AI agents to replace human labor, yet costs are rising as token usage outpaces traditional salaries. U.S. firms struggle to optimize AI efficiently, while China reportedly achieves breakthroughs at far lower costs. Analysts warn AI's rapid evolution may disrupt employment, financial systems, and even military applications. Concerns extend to ethical oversight, exemplified by senior AI executives resigning over the technology's potential dangers. Nations now face a race to integrate AI without destabilizing society, weighing productivity gains against risks of automation, cybersecurity vulnerabilities, and unforeseen technological consequences.
Comes back to how we started this chat.
It does a bit, and I'm sorry, I don't sort of go with it. Don't forget that the Chinese have actually managed to crack this on something like a $5 million budget.
Yes. Yes.
And everybody dismisses it. Oh, it's pretense, or they're copying everybody else and not doing original stuff. But come on, it's absolutely. I mean, the Chinese will take over the whole of the AI thing, simply because we're so inefficient at it. I mean, chucking tens of billions of dollars on each project. I mean, it's just nonsense, absolute nonsense. The Chinese can do this, standing on their heads. So, and they're already doing it. Look at their robots and all the rest of it. I mean,
anybody who's got any doubt should see those videos of the robot soldiers firing guns and the kung fu dance. Unbelievable. But and being practical.
Compare it with last year. No, they're absolutely fearless. I mean, I think the way this is going is that, AI is now creating robots. They will manufacture the robots, they will give them their intelligence, and then robots will beget robots and all the rest of it. And then they'll decide, we don't need these bloody humans anymore. So time I think for a nuclear conflagration.
That is why the director from Anthropic has resigned, because he's scared as to what he has helped develop. And what is he going to do? He's going to the UK to learn how to write poetry at university.
Well, I look forward to his first book of poems. But I mean, actually, the main point you're making, Simon, is this is an expert. We're not experts in this. This is an expert who is terrified about what is created.
Yeah. I mean, the actual words he used in his resignation letter is, the world is in peril.
Yeah. Yes. Oh dear. Well,
on that note,
you brought us round full circles, Danny.
Here we go. I'm trying to find the letter of the Anthropic CEO, but well, if I'll find it, I'll post it in the description box down below so people can read it themselves. Well, gents, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure having you both on at the same time. Anything else you guys would like to talk about before we wrap up?
Well, my mantra is get out of credit, get into real money. I don't care whether it goes up, down, sideways, or whatever in the short term. Credit's going down to zero. And perhaps the robots will push it there as well. So it's quite simple. McLeodfinance.com. You'll find all you need to learn about the difference between money and credit there.
And Simon,
from my point of view, what you should be owning would be gold, art, and food.
Food actually is going to be incredible. Well, I mean, it's vital, obviously. But
prices are going to soar.
Absolutely.
Well, we bought food.
Yeah. In this country, we're busy covering the land in concrete houses, or trying to, and solar panels. And, to hell with the farmers. It's very short-sighted. I think,
and very
this year, my garden's going to be turned into a vegetable patch, I think.
For the people that don't have gardens, though, how should they stockpile food, in your view?
Well, buy a freezer, good freezer. Then you've got to rely on the electricity system. But basically, freezers, they cut it off for 5-6 hours. Freezer's okay, but that's one way. And the other thing is just grow it.
No, the other things, talking about electricity, you have your own self-generator.
Yeah.
Those units are available and not expensive.
No, exactly.
Particularly if you get them from China.
Yes. Indeed, yeah.
Experts emphasize survival strategies amid uncertainty. With credit systems under pressure, gold, art, and essential resources like food become critical. Practical measures include stockpiling supplies, generating independent power, and reassessing investments. Financial literacy, understanding the distinction between money and credit, is more vital than ever. Meanwhile, geopolitical instability, from Iran and Ukraine to US-China tensions, demands awareness of international developments. Observers note that economic, technological, and political shifts are interconnected, shaping markets and everyday life. For individuals, knowledge, preparation, and resilience are key to navigating 2026's challenges, whether managing investments, safeguarding essential resources, or staying informed on global events.